Ladies and gentlemen, fourth and trollers, welcome back to the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet. That is right. It is Fourth and Troll Fantasy. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And we have got a wonderful post-holiday episode for you guys today. Hopefully, Santa brought some of you guys a championship appearance in your fantasy football leagues this year for Christmas. I know Davante Adams didn't bring you that, so hopefully Santa did. Davante Adams brought lumps of coal, so there you go. I honestly, Wes, I didn't even think about it. That was a personal anecdote to you. There you go. Well, there you go. We'll talk about that in a second, I suppose. He was just one player that I was like, on the fly. Who just brought a little cold to everybody? Oh.
Yeah, he sure did.
Who else should I add? Just Tua? And just anybody else?
Well, hey, we got a whole segment for playoffs.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, there you go.
This is in our show. You don't have to work this in. This is part of our episode. Goodness.
We got a fun one for you guys today. Wes, Wes, how you doing?
All right. So as you can tell, I did not make it into the championship in mine and Noah's personal league. As we'll get to later with some of the playoff heroes, I went up against Devonta Smith, and that was tough. And at first I thought, man, these stupid touchdowns, because one of them was a 4th and goal or something like that. I mean, this is going to be really tough, but you know what? I've got Davante Adams, I've got Tua Tagovailoa, and I've got Tyreek Hill. I know those guys can get 20 points, help me out. And then no, none of them did well. So that was tough. And the other guy that I'm playing against is the best, he's the best record in our league. So there was that. However, Noah, in my other league, the one that I got in by a single point, I have been the highest scoring team both weeks of playoffs. I am in the championship. Let's go, dude.
I cannot believe it.
Fired up. I'm elated. It's incredible.
From starting Brandon Ayuk versus Christian McCaffrey on the first game of the fantasy playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
To now you're here, top scorer. Your opponent had who as their defense this weekend, by the way?
The Denver Broncos.
Oh, all right. Yeah, there we go. Come on. Negative 40 points right there.
Yeah.
I don't know actually how many it was, but.
Oh, it was -4. So you
divide by 10.
How are you? And hey, how was your Christmas? We spent Christmas a little bit together, but how was your Christmas? How was your week? How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm it's sad that the fantasy football season is slowly coming to an end. Oh. It's always a little disappointing this time of year, especially if you didn't make playoffs. But hey, I'm crushing it in the losers bracket, by the way. 2-0 in the losers bracket. Let's go. Come on now. 2-0 in the losers bracket. Gotta love it. Man, I'm doing well. Christmas was great. We, like you said, we spent some time together. Christmas would have been a little better. Had a certain quarterback not throwing 3 fourth quarter interceptions. That's all good though. Still repping right here on my head. Got the beanie on
for still repping.
Yeah, tough times there in Miami on Sunday, but Christmas was great. Like we said, we got to spend some time together. That was super nice. Played some games, hung out, ate some good food. Came home, ate more good food. Watched some TV with my wife. Just hung out. Just hung around. It's a great time overall. Definitely Wonderful. A nice holly jolly holiday season. But yeah, it was a great time. Like I said earlier, we got a great show for you today, and we hope that Santa did bring you a championship game appearance this holiday season. But we've got one last gift for you here to cap off the holidays, and it's an amazing show because it's the final week here of fantasy football. We're obviously going to do some playoff heroes and playoff zeros, followed up by the majority of our show, which is going to be the final fluke or for real, because there might be some people out for your teams. We got to find you some people to fill in there for you. first, we're going to do a little bit of news, and then eventually we'll get to a little bit of Thursday Night Football preview. First things first, Wes, give me the news and my favorite news segment to start out that we've ever had. Give it to me. I'm so happy. Give it to me.
Really thought, the Matt Rule one would have been a little more exciting for you. But, I mean, here we go. In case you hadn't heard, big NFL news. The Denver Broncos would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, except to Nathaniel Hackett. The day after Christmas, the Broncos fired Nathaniel Hackett following a 14-51 blowout loss to the 4-10 Rams at the time, and also following one of the worst offenses in NFL history. Will this change? This is the big question. Will this change anything with Russell Wilson now? No. Anyway, in addition to Hackett's firing, a little more house cleaning work was done there in Denver. They also released their special teams coordinator and their offensive line coach. I mean, if you've got Jerry Jeudy, I think that might be worth it. Otherwise, we'll get into Greg Dulcich later. He's got a hamstring injury. So anyway, finally happened. There it is. The big news. Hey, some more NFL news. The Jets reportedly, hasn't been confirmed widespread, but it has been reported that the Jets are expected to move on from Zach Wilson after this season. Mike White has been cleared by the doctors to play again. He's already been named the starter against Seattle. Saleh confirmed that Joe Flacco will be the backup. And on top of that, Zach Wilson is listed as inactive. He cannot play even if Mike White and Joe Flacco throw 4 picks each. He's basically unrostered by the Jets. Huge news there. Good news for Garrett Wilson owners, I believe. Okay. Couple injury reports down this list. Pay attention if you got any of these players here. Nico Collins was placed on injured reserve, so he'll miss the last week of playoffs, of course, making Chris Moore and Brandon Cooks the top wide receivers, which did result in Cooks scoring his first touchdown since week 4. If you're interested in playing any Texans wide receivers, just keep that in mind. All right, Jalen Hurts missed this incredible game against the Cowboys. He was already considered questionable for week 17, for this week, this matchup against the Saints, as early as Friday. Before the Cowboys game, they already listed him as questionable. His status is already in jeopardy for this championship weekend. Of course, if Hurts doesn't play, Gardner Minshew will take over once again. And there's still some speculation that Hurts can probably still play, but just pay very, very, very close attention. Be prepared to miss Jalen Hurts just in case. Jamal Williams had an ankle injury against the Panthers. He had his ankle caught up under him during the tackle. As of now, there haven't been any updates on his status, whether he's going to play or not. Nothing has really been labeled, but we'll be honest, with 3 straight weeks below 4 points, it's tough to even consider if his injury is going to make a difference, because it's been a really disappointing final few games for the touchdown machine, Jamal Williams. Justin Fields, he hurt his foot on the last play on Saturday against the Bills. He said he couldn't even put his full weight on it. So if you see that, listen to this next part here. The Bears head coach Matt Eberflus said that they intend to still play Fields for the rest of the season, and he should be good to play this final week of the fantasy football season against Detroit. So even though disappointing week against the Bills, he should be good to go. Before the Commanders game on Saturday, Ron Rivera stated that he would put in Carson Wentz if Taylor Heineke played poorly. And that happened. And now Rivera has decided he will evaluate whether Taylor Heineke or Carson Wentz will start next week. If that persuades you on any of your Commanders players, pay attention to who that starting quarterback is going to be for this last week. The Patriots tight end Hunter Henry is dealing with a knee injury. He's considered day-to-day. We're just including this because tight ends are a graveyard. Here's another tight end update, just in case you're interested. Here's another tight end update. Greg Dulcich left Sunday Night Football with a hamstring injury. And knowing that there are only 2 weeks left in the season, and after firing the head coach and a bunch of other coaches on that team, it's entirely possible that they just decided to bench Dulcich for the rest of the season. He's been a great addition to the team. They may just want to keep him for next season. Okay, a couple more here. The touchdown machine, Christian Watson. injured his hip against Miami on Christmas Day. He is considered day to day. And with every single possible scenario going Green Bay's way over Christmas weekend to get into the playoffs and to keep the playoffs hope alive, they are in a pretty good spot to make the playoffs. They are very well alive. And that is likely going to mean that Christian Watson is going to do everything he can to get back into action. If you're willing to take that risk to get 2 random touchdowns from Christian Watson, he should be in line to play. Keep tabs on that. Okay, Deebo Samuel has a chance to return to practice this week. With the 49ers still trying to move into the 2nd seed, it's possible that they're going to play Deebo. Obviously, they're not in danger of falling to the 4th seed because, the whole NFC South is terrible, but they've already clinched the division. Deebo's health may be reserved for the real playoffs, and sitting him this week against the Raiders in the last week of the regular season is very, very likely. So if you've been holding on to him in your IR slot, I get it. I'm one of those owners as well, but it's just going to be unlikely, even though he may practice this week. Last 2 here. Okay. Very, very, very big news. Suddenly, for some reason, Tua Tagovailoa ended up in concussion protocol for a 3rd time this season. Now, this was reported by Mike McDaniel, but Tua reported this himself to the team on Monday because there were no signs during the Packers game on Christmas Day, any of the symptoms related to the concussion protocol. What we learned from the Bills game and the Bengals game with Tua, all of the necessary qualifications and symptoms for a player to be in concussion protocol were not exhibited, but Tua himself reported it, which means that he is now questionable. And as of late, Teddy Bridgewater is the current backup in Miami. And if any of you are wondering how that's going to pan out for the likes of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, the last time and the only time Teddy Bridgewater played a full game, Tyreek Hill scored 29 points and Jalen Waddle scored 17 points. And that was in week 6 against the Vikings. So if you're focused on the fantasy aspect for those receivers, I think you're going to be fine. But if you have Tua, that is a must to have a backup quarterback because there's already question that he shouldn't play for the season, even if they make playoffs. Crazy scenario for them. Okay, last one here. Following last night's boring game. Oh, my goodness. Jeff Saturday said that he still plans to stick with Nick Foles for next week, even though he threw 3 interceptions and less than 150 yards. So no need to start anyone on the Colts for your championship run. That's it for the news. Let's jump into it. Let's celebrate the people that got us in the championship, Noah, with some playoff heroes.
Let's do it. Give me one moment. I'm wiping my tears here because it might be one of the last news segments that we have here on 4th and Troll Fantasy. It's just soaking it all in, guys. Soaking it all in.
Yeah, we've got one after for our Friday show, after Thursday night's game.
Yeah.
So we get a little bit last bit of news here, but yeah, this is it.
Coming down to it. Let's talk about these playoff heroes because yet again, just another man on this list is Justin Jefferson. He is on his 3rd straight week of scoring 30 plus fantasy points. He is potentially just single-handedly winning, move people on here. It's pretty unbelievable what he is able to do, Wes. When you took him 2nd overall in our fantasy league, a lot of people thought, what? Like, what is he doing? Like, what's going on here? Yeah. And, this is just a testament to potentially the future and the changing of the guard of the first round of the fantasy football drafts here on out.
Oh, yeah.
Because when there's guys like that who can do 3 weeks in a row of 30 points, something special.
Yeah, I have nothing else to comment. I've just been celebrating Justin Jefferson all season long. And go figure, I made it into the championship team with Justin Jefferson. I traded for him in week 2 because he had a really bad week. And Aaron Jones had a fantastic week. And I was like, hey, dummy, want to trade? And he was like, for sure. Wow, yeah. I just flew.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. And I banked on that. And guess who else I had on that team that I made the championship with, Noah?
Did you have TJ Hawkinson on that team?
I sure did.
You had TJ Hawkinson on that team who had his 2nd week this season as the highest scoring fantasy player, 35.9 fantasy points. Another Viking there with 16 targets. He actually had more catches than Justin Jefferson this week. 109 yards, 13 catches, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns, 35.9 fantasy points. Man, I mean, what is this going to skyrocket TJ Hawkinson to tight end 2 now? Probably somehow, just off 1 week.
I think he's 4.
Something like that. Sure.
I know. Yeah. It's hilarious. It's like just a race for second and third behind
a boom tight end week
of Travis Kelce.
Yeah. A boom tight end week. Oh, you're top 5 now. Like, there you go.
Right.
Perfect.
Exactly.
It's perfect. Another boom week here. CeeDee Lamb. It's up and down a little bit, but gosh, this guy's good. 120 yards, 10 catches, 2 touchdowns, 34 fantasy points. He's good at football. CeeDee Lamb is. He's good at football. And, I don't know that besides Dalton Schultz that anyone else is worth being in a starting lineup from this Cowboys offense as far as a passing game perspective goes. Obviously, those 2 running backs are great, but gosh, CeeDee Lamb is good. And he's going to be potentially could be first round pick next year, depending on where some people are valuing him at the wide receiver position. A guy, Wes, you had Justin Jefferson and then a guy that just canceled him out here. Devontae Smith, you talked about it. Just, my goodness, 31.3 fantasy points, matched Justin Jefferson there. 12 targets, 8 catches, 113 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Devontae Smith. Yeah, the connection between him and Gardner Minshew is there. Not so much for A.J. Brown, but for Devontae Smith, he had himself a day against the Cowboys.
It was hilarious because I jotted down his name in our playoff 0 after the first half.
Oh, gosh.
I think he had 5 points a couple minutes into the third quarter, and I was like, wow. I mean, this is the boomer bust that Devontae Smith is. And then there was a 4th down play that got him in the end zone wide open. And then he just took over the Eagles offense. And it was like, well, he's not a 0. I think he's about to be a hero. And then he just, gosh. And this is sort of what you talked about at the beginning of the season. When you have these boom and bust players where the boom is something like this, they're kind of locked in because you got to write it out. And so those that have just stuck with Devontae Smith, I mean, there you go. There you go. You're probably in the championship.
Yeah. Guys like Mike Williams, guys like the Tyler Lockett's of the past seasons, stuff like that, where it's these guys who sometimes they go for 5, sometimes they go for 31.3. It just depends on what's going to happen. Wes, let me give you a piece of advice here.
Yeah. What's up?
Next week, or this upcoming week, in the league that you are in the championship in, stop prematurely putting people into playoff 0s. 2 weeks ago, you did the same thing with Aaron Jones, and then we peed our pants down to an inch because he did not score the touchdown. Same thing here with Devontae Smith. You know what? If they've got, who else would it be? DK Metcalf? DK with 3 points at the half. What a loser.
Yeah.
Yeah. Playoff 0 in my book. There you go. Man, another guy who, another great week, maybe is developing a little bit of a connection here with Dirty Purdy. He scored 4 touchdowns in the past 2 weeks. George Kittle, 30 points for George Kittle. Only TJ Hawkinson could have, and actually, Tyler Higbee as well. We'll talk about in just a second. Say only TJ Hawkinson can top that, but Tyler Higbee topped that as well. My goodness. But George Kittle, man, he has become a little bit of a safety net, a little bit of a safety blanket, a little bit of a touchdown machine here with Brock Purdy at quarterback. 8 targets, 6 catches, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns for George Kittle. As long as the Niners are fighting for, potentially a higher seed, I think this offense is going to still keep going. I don't see them taking any breaks here anytime soon. And man, that could, George Kittle owners, I'll say this: the guy who's going to the championship, not the one that you faced, Wes, but the other guy in the other matchup, the other one who has made the championship now, shout out Jacob Wheeler. He has George Kittle on his team, and he had clinched the first round bye. And I was like, man, sucks. You know, it was the George Kittle Seattle game. And it was like, man, this great performance from Kittle sucks that he's not even going to be able to, didn't even get any of the benefit of it, you know? And because George Kittle had this performance this week, Jacob beat our friend Josh and ended up moving on to the championship pretty much because of George Kittle. That kind of performance from George Kittle is what put him through there. And so, man, George Kittle's heating up with Dirty Purdy back there slinging the rock.
I don't even think there's reason to believe he won't do this next week.
Right. I'm like, well, why not? Like, it's not like it was like 12 catches for 185. Like he caught the ball 6 times for 20 yards apiece and 2 touchdowns. Like,
Travis Kelce had 4 touchdowns off of like 30 yards. Several weeks ago. And it's George Kittle. We know this can happen. So, I mean, obviously you're going to start him because it's George Kittle and you got a tight end that can get touchdowns. But like, I don't think that you had the best of George Kittle just to make championship for him to put up 2 points on Sunday. I think you're looking at close to 20 points again. Yeah, definitely has definitely a safe floor there. George Kittle owners can be happy if they're in the championship. Some more playoff heroes. The Rams were playoff heroes. Gosh, you remember when everyone was like, Cam Akers, sleeper running back of the year. This guy's going to be huge. And then he had like 2 or 1 touch in the week 1, and we were all like, oh no. No, Cam Akers. I remember that.
Cam Akers sucks. Well, for the most part, for the majority of the year, Cam Akers has sucked. So we're not far off there. We didn't get played right away. But my goodness, when it mattered most, if for some reason one of you fourth and trollers out there was down to your last, down to wit's end, and you were like, you know what, I'm going to lose anyway. Whatever, let's put Cam Akers in there. Whatever. And then got 34.7 fantasy points from him, 3 touchdowns. Sorry, you guys heard that right. 34.7 fantasy points on the Broncos defense. Yeah, my goodness, Cam Akers. What a playoff hero. Then his teammate, Tyler Higbee. 30.4 fantasy points. 9 catches, 94 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I guess, we were like, oh, maybe it's Ben Skoranek for Baker Mayfield. Maybe it's Tutu Atwell. Maybe it's, you know what? Heck you, Baker Mayfield. Okay.
Heck you.
Figure out who you're going to throw the ball to. Because, man, this is just, 30.4 fantasy points. Man, how great is it to see 3 tight ends in the playoff hero section, Wes?
That is rewarding.
Come on.
This season. It being such a disappointment. Look at that. 3 tight ends in the same week scored 30 points.
What a dumpster fire of a position it was this year. And when it matters most, coming through for you guys here for the fourth and trollers. Well, of course, we have to talk about kickers because Matt Gay, 19 points. Boom. Nailed it.
Those are all
kicker
PATs.
Playoff hero. Oh, my God.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
but these were 51 touchdowns. Points. I mean,
my goodness. Yeah. Matt Gay there was definitely a playoff hero if you had him in the lineup. And then the Rams defense, 21 points, 14 points allowed, 4 interceptions, 6 sacks, and a defensive touchdown. Oh, boy. What a bunch of playoff heroes.
Nobody started these. This is what frustrates me is that nobody started these guys.
Yeah. If you started any of these guys, send it to us. Send us a screenshot. We'd love to see it because that is unbelievable that happened for you. Obviously, those are going to be our playoff heroes, though, Wes. We're going to do some playoff zeros, but first some mild playoff zeros. Maybe just people we're wanting a little more from here. Kind of playoff zeros. We don't want to label them just as that yet. They didn't necessarily lose you your week single-handedly, but not good stuff here. we already mentioned a couple of them. These Miami Dolphins players, Tyreek Hill, 14.3 fantasy points, only 6 targets for Tyreek Hill in this game. 4 catches for 103 yards. Obviously, one of them was a big 50-yard catch, so half those yards came in one catch there. And then Tua Tagovailoa, 10.4 fantasy points, started out a great first half. Great first half, man. And then ended with 310 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. Looking at a 16.4 fantasy point game at least without those picks there. But gosh, just a really, really bad second half for the Dolphins there. As you stated previously, Wes, Teddy Bridgewater has had success, has been successful giving these, top wide receivers some good fantasy days. So you're definitely still firing up those guys, probably still firing up these running backs. New England's a little bit of a tough run defense, but these guys are probably worth a flex spot with how well the Dolphins have been running the ball the past few weeks. Always a threat. Jeff Wilson found the end zone, so definitely a threat for 60 yards and a touchdown. Either of these guys in the backfield are. So probably still considering them for a flex option, but Dolphins offense, rough times here on Christmas Day. Another guy, Jamar Chase, took a little bit of a backseat role to T. Higgins this week. T. Higgins had a great week, 28.5 fantasy points.
Fantastic.
Jamar Chase, just 13.9 fantasy points, still 11 targets, 8 catches for 79 yards. Just didn't have one of those big plays. He always has a chance to break one of those big plays, or at least one of those big plays. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3 big plays, and give you just a massive fantasy week. But 13.9 points, nothing that you're going to be super, super disappointed in, but just something that you were hoping a little more from there. Another guy definitely expected a little more from was Christian McCaffrey this week, Wes, and just 13.8 fantasy points. It's strange to say, dud week, nearly 14 fantasy points as a running back, at the running back position, because it's like, well, I mean, I don't know. I consider that probably a decent RB2 day. If David Montgomery got me that, I'd be like, yeah, all right, cool, nice.
Right.
But from Christian McCaffrey, it's just a bit of a letdown, just a little bit of a letdown. 15 carries, 46 yards, and a touchdown. Wasn't involved in the passing game though. That's been a big key for him. And just 2 targets for 2 catches for 12 yards. Again, nothing that you're just like, this is ruined it for me. But just a little bit let down, wanting a little more.
He was 1 fourth down call from Kyle Shanahan from being a single digit performance, and would have certainly been playoff 0, because they were already up by like 14 points. And then they decided, let's just go for it. We're on like the 13-yard line or something like that. And they were like, yeah, here we go. They got the first down, and they were like, hey, Christian McCaffrey, come on in. We're going to rush it for a touchdown. So he barely got these 13.8 points.
Yeah, touchdown's going to save the day.
Yeah, otherwise it would have been really bad. But the standout to me, like you said, is 2 targets. I don't know, maybe Dirty Purdy just sticking with George Kittle because he can't stop scoring.
Yeah, maybe likes going to George Kittle a little more there. We'll see what happens here. Christian McCaffrey definitely been a key piece for a lot of people's playoff runs. So hope he can have a little bit of a bounce back to normality for McCaffrey next week. And then Dalvin Cook, another guy we just want a little more from. Dalvin Cook feels like he's been so up and down, man. Last week, 27 points in the greatest comeback in NFL history. And then 10.7, it was just, and jokingly, the same guy who has George Kittle in our league, who's made the playoff, who's made the championship now, also has Dalvin Cook. And I mentioned that about Dalvin Cook as well when saying, bummer that George Kittle isn't going to be able to, he can't capitalize on these points for a game that actually, like a matchup that matters. Same thing with Dalvin Cook, though. As I said, Dalvin Cook, 27 points, and then he's going to go back to having 5 next week. But 10.7, it's just like, it feels so up and down. I feel it's not as much involvement in the passing game as we hope for. I will say he is the guy. He's the running back. Alexander Mattison, we thought earlier in the year was going to have a decent carved out role. It felt like he had a carved out role. It felt like he was getting intentional snaps on this, on this offense. Maybe Kevin O'Connell just decided, hey, if I want to keep winning, I need to just make the one guy. And so Dalvin Cook is the guy, but just 10.7 is disappointing. Wanting a little more from Dalvin Cook this past week.
Yep. That's it. And that's what this portion of our letdown segment is just wanting a little bit more because these are players that very easily can get 20 points, but they just didn't get it in a playoff game, and they just want a little more. But now we got some actual
these next guys are labeled under playoff zeros.
A lot of them too, man.
Yeah, playoff zeros parentheses wanting a freaking lot more. Also, essentially, I was wanting a little more. This is wanting a buttload more. Let's start out. Let's just jump through these guys because it's disappointing right off the jump. Playoff zeros. Justin Fields, 9.86 fantasy points, 119 yards and a touchdown, 7 rushes for 11 yards. Justin Fields, what is this? It's not. Did you take the day off? What are we doing here? 7 rushes for 11 yards. That's not what you do. Especially against the Bills when you have a chance to have a massive game. First half looked great. First half, I thought, wow, the Bears are going to upset the Bills. Second half, throw that down the drain. 7 rushes for 11 yards. Go tell your mother. Stephon Diggs, 4.6 points in the same game. What are we doing, bud? It's the fantasy semifinals. What are we, 2 catches, 2 targets, 26 yards. Josh Allen, don't think you're getting off scot-free from this. Throw the ball to Stephon Diggs.
Right.
It's the Bears. It's the Bears. You're not getting away just because you're not a playoff zero, Josh Allen. You deserve some responsibility in this too. Stephon Diggs, 4.6 fantasy points. Hey, KJ Osborne, remember last week when you were generational? This week, you don't matter. 4.7 points. 4 targets, 3 catches, 17 yards. Nice. I know some people who started you.
Yeah.
That might be a little bit on them. It was one boom game, but it is what it is. Whatever. Ramondre Stevenson, the PPR machine. Remember that guy? 8-9 catches a game.
Strong ball carrier.
Yeah. 3.3 points and a fumble. Nice, dude. You're getting a spanking. Josh Jacobs. No. No, sir. Josh Jacobs, remember you, the league's leading rusher? This guy's. Oh man, they didn't pick up a 5th-year option. Oh, I took that personally. Oh, I don't care, dude. 6 points in the fantasy semifinals. What are you doing? What are you doing here, bud? What is this?
Ridiculous.
44 yards, 1 target, 1 catch. Derek Carr, subtle jab to you. Way to go, dummy.
Subtle jab. Yeah.
Here's a massive jab to you. Devontae Adams, 3.5 points. Thanks, Derek Carr.
Come on.
Way to go. You're not a perfect angel in this. 9 targets, just 2 catches for 15 yards. Hey, Derek Carr, throw the ball better to him.
Lost my playoff game because of you.
Yeah. Go off, Wes. Go off.
Stupid.
Devontae Adams,
you kidding me? This is ridiculous. 2 catches? Come on. You did that last week against New England. You thought, okay, I'll just do it again because we got lucky and a ridiculous. They're calling that play the hail moron against New England. The ridiculous flea flicker back for a touchdown. And you think, I get the day off because I'm going to play Pittsburgh because they're going to commemorate Franco Harris. Freaking, I'm going to forget you, Devontae Adams. Jeez, get out of here. Next.
Playoff zero. Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams, more like Devontae playoff zero. Gosh.
Absolutely crushed him, Noah.
Yeah, you got him, dude. Dude, got him.
Got him, dude.
Nice, dude. Miles Sanders. Hey, buddy. Remember when your only competition for rushing yards and rushing touchdowns didn't play in this game? You're an idiot. 6.1 fantasy points. Nice. I don't care if you don't care about fantasy. You've proven that 2 weeks in a row with 2 weeks of playoff zeros. Okay.
Tell him.
Thanks, bud.
Yep. And you lost. So did it even matter?
Yeah.
Maybe don't fumble.
So, yeah. Maybe try to hold the ball more. Do your job better. Aaron Jones. Ooh, big second half comeback. I must have played great. No, 5.4 points. Up your butt, bro. Up your butt.
Dunk on him, Noah.
DeAndre Hopkins. Oh, Trace McSorley's my quarterback. He's not going to throw me the ball. He can't even throw it. No, he threw it to you 10 times. You caught 1 ball. You dunce face. Way to go,
dunce
man.
Face.
Yeah.
Golly. Yeah. Remember when he was like, who needs their playoff? Who needs their fantasy week save? And coming in, I'm going to save the day. Remember when he said that, Noah? DeAndre
I remember that. Weeks ago? Yeah. Well, thanks for losing me fantasy.
Yeah. I think it's like 4 total points since he tweeted that.
Nice, Hopkins.
Ridiculous.
Way to go, man. Yeah, sure.
Come
Top
on.
5 receiver in the league. My butt. Yeah,
My
yeah.
butt.
Plays great with Matt Schaub, but not Trace McSorley. Okay, buddy. Justin Herbert. Remember when I had you my QB2 on the season? Well, you're QB 11 and probably worse now because you scored 5.5 points on Monday Night Football.
Imagine going into Monday night. You know what? I got a great shot to win fantasy and to make the championship. I just need 8 points, and I've got Justin Herbert. Even if he does that last week, I win this week. Well, he doesn't even do that. Doesn't even get that.
I need 5.6 points from Justin Herbert this week. I got this in the bag.
Bag.
Okay. Playoff zeros. Man, my heart rate's elevated.
It's deserved. I think we have vicariously expressed a lot of emotion on behalf of fourth and trollers that have these players on their team. Yeah. I mean, they deserve to be heard and to have that voice shared, because you know what? I have players on this spot too. And I know you do as well. And look, this was it to have a shot at the championship. These guys let us down. Yeah.
Trollers.
I'm TO'd.
Yeah. Trollers, this one's for you. This one's for you guys. Yeah. Oh man. All right, let's move on here from playoff heroes and playoff zeros, parentheses, wanting a lot more. Jump in here, Wes. Let's jump into our final fluke or for real of the season. Going to go through as many players as we can, you guys, real quick, just to absolutely give a quick blurb and let you know what we think of them, what if they think we can do this next week. Maybe not. If they can help you win a championship, we'll let you know. Let's just start out here with some great fluke or for real guys we got to talk about. And let's talk about these Carolina Panthers, because they set a franchise record for rushing. Yeah. And man, they had a great big win against the Lions, which I was not expecting. But triple-headed backfield, maybe, I guess. I don't know. Let's talk about it. First off, Raheem Blackshear, rookie running back, 8.5 points, but he scored a touchdown there, Wes. What do you think, fluke or for real?
Fluke.
That one's going to be fluke.
That's 2.5 points without a touchdown because he had 3 carries and 1 target.
Yeah. That one's a fluke there. Chuba Hubbard, 12.5 points, 12 carries, 125 yards, fluke or for real?
Oh, this is tough for me to decide because there's been back and forth between Chuba and Donta, and I think if you're not in the championship, go for it. If you're in the championship, I'm nervous. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I honestly, I'm nervous for any of these 3 guys if you're in the championship, just because this next guy here will say, Deontay Foreman, 22.5 points, 21 carries, 165 yards. He gets in the end zone. Still nothing in the passing game. 22.5 fluke for real.
I know that he can do this and he's done this before. And so I'm more inclined to say for real. However, I've got the snap count between Chuba Hubbard and Donta Foreman. Chuba Hubbard's got a 46% snap count from that game, and Donta Foreman has a 44%. That is a split backfield. And on top of this, you look at just the yards per carry, 21 carries for 165 yards. Anybody will take that. However, Chuba Hubbard had 12 carries. 12 carries, 125 yards, 10.5 yards a carry. I don't know if Steve Wilkes is going to – I don't even think it matters who he names at the start. I think he's rolling them both.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's a certain starter here. Hubbard obviously ran very well. I mean, Wes, you got the snap counts there. That's great and all. I'm going to say this is semi for real for Foreman, but for your championship game, I'm just going to look at 2 weeks ago when he scored less than a point in fantasy and let that be enough for me to say, okay, good to see you kind of doing this again. And you've done it a couple times, but no, I'm not in on this at all.
Does it change your mind because we're going to talk about 2 more Panthers players here. Does it change your mind knowing they're playing the Buccaneers defense?
Oh boy, are they Tyler Algier? Then no, because he's the only one who can do good things against them apparently. Let's talk about another couple guys here from the Panthers. Sam Darnold, 21.9 fantasy points. He gets a rushing touchdown. He gets a passing touchdown, 250 yards. Fluker for real, Wes.
Fluke Lions secondary has been disastrous.
SPDB.
SPDBBBD, which is why Jared Goff has been such a fantasy value because he has to keep scoring touchdowns.
He just has to keep scoring. Yeah.
And again, it's the Bucs defense. And I mean, if you have Jalen Hurts or even Justin Fields, if he's still out, Lamar Jackson, maybe he misses another week, Tua Tagovailoa, I'm still not looking at Sam Darnold to replace him.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you there. This is fluky. DJ Moore, though, 20.1 fantasy points. 3 out of his last 4 games have been really solid since Sam Darnold's come back. What do we think on DJ Moore? Fluke for real?
This one, I think, even in the championship, I think this is certainly worth considering as for real a flex option. And I think the aforementioned Jacob Wheeler that won in our league, I think he started DJ Moore, and I think that's
a big
reason. So
he did. Yeah. He messaged me on Sunday on Friday, I think, and said, "Hey, I'm picking between J.K. Dobbins and DJ Moore for my flex spot. What do you think?" And I said, I think both have an equal shot to score 5 points, and I think DJ Moore has the better chance to score 20 points. So I think you probably go DJ Moore. Boom, there you go, 20 points to DJ Moore.
His life.
I know, saved
That's
his life.
Fantasy football advice that
4th Control Fantasy, baby. There you
free.
Go.
For now, it's free.
Free for now. Cam Akers, we talked about him a little bit. Just a couple Rams here. 34.7 points. Fluke for real, Wes.
Pisses me off. For real.
Because he's the guy.
Just drive that stake in my heart. Just go for it. We scored 19 points a couple of weeks ago. I was like, where did you come from? Yeah. Do it again. Do it again. Get 50 points. Just bleed Cam Akers owners dry.
Yeah.
Because they're all in the consolation round.
Exactly. There you go. Tyler Higbee, Fluke for real, 30.4 points.
11 targets is actually a lot.
Don't you dare.
A lot. Even for a wide receiver, but especially tight end. So for real, right?
Oh, it's so painful. I'm going to call Fluke on it. It's
okay.
Dude, he's so bad. He's so bad. He's so bad. He's been so bad for so much of this season. And we were thinking the same thing about Ben Skoranek a couple weeks ago. We're like, hey, they've been Skoranek's for real with Baker. And so it's like, you know what? I don't know. We'll see. I could very well be wrong here, but Tyler Higbee, I'm gonna call Fluke on it. Isaiah Hodgins, who? Yeah, that's right. There's a Giants receiver that we're talking about recently. 22.9 fantasy points, 11 targets, 8 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown. Fluke for real, Wes.
He keeps coming up. He keeps showing up in these Fluke for real segments, and I like it. I don't think I'm going to start him regardless.
Right.
It's just, honestly, because we'll just jump the gun and go to our next Fluke for real with Richie James as well. I think the most I'm getting on this is just taking a note for next season's fantasy drafts.
Maybe.
Great. Speculative draft ad, but that offense, the Giants offense will always run through Saquon Barkley.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not loving the guys that are catching passes from Daniel Jones in the fantasy championship this week. So we'll see what happens there, but I'm going to call Fluke on him. Shane Zylstra, another who? I literally messaged in our fantasy group chat, who is this dude? Yeah. And why is he stealing all these touchdowns from Amon-Ra St. Brown? What's going on here? 25.6 fantasy points for the Detroit Lions' second string tight end, Shane Zylstra. 6 targets, 3 catches, 26 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Fluke for real, Wes.
Get out of here. That's a fluke. Come on.
That's fluke.
They have incredible wide receivers. They're not. No.
Yeah. Hey,
not
Dan Campbell.
At him.
Yeah. Hey, Dan Campbell. Remember this top wide receiver you took out in the draft and Jameson Williams? Let's involve him a little more than Shane Zylstra. Is that cool with you, dude? Like, what are we doing here? Trent Irwin, who I think looks like a college professor. He had 19.5 fantasy points this week, 4 targets, 3 catches, 45 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Trent Irwin, Wes, Fluke for real?
Fluke. Bengals fans like him. Bengals fans thinks he's awesome and he's worth staying on that team and being a starter, but he is far behind some of the best receivers in the NFL. So I think he's a good player, but this is definitely a fluke for the world of fantasy.
Yep, I agree. Tyler Algier, which we talked about a little bit this week, Wes, is I was excited watching Tyler Algier on Saturday because this feels like the Falcons are going, all right, let's look at this young core of guys. Who do we have? How are they playing? And this Ravens run defense is no joke. And he put up 15.7 fantasy points on him, 18 carries, 74 yards, 5 targets, 4 catches, 43 yards. I am liking Tyler Algier in fantasy next year. Big name that I'm focusing on for next year in fantasy. But right now, after week 16, Wes, Fluke or for real on Tyler Algier?
I think if you are in a deep league, I think this is a fantastic floor that Tyler Algier has kind of proven himself, especially as they're looking at Desmond Ridder for their future and Drake London and Tyler Algier. All three of these rookies are going to try to be the future for Atlanta. And I think they're going to keep working it. And I think it's great. Just as you said, I think it's a safe floor. It's going to be a lot trickier, I think, if you're going to start him, especially in a 10-team league. That I don't think is worth starting for a championship game.
A little tougher for a 10-team, but definitely in deeper leagues for sure, and definitely be paying attention. Still be paying attention. Take note of what he's doing over these next few weeks, because I'm borderline calling him my guy right now. It's very close because he is a guy that I'm really excited about next year.
Yeah, get your 2023 notes ready, your spreadsheets ready. Just write down some of these names for next season so you don't forget, so you can just go undefeated, guys.
Yeah.
Calling it.
Yeah. A couple of Bills running backs here because I guess Stephon Diggs didn't want to do anything. Devin Singletary with 20.5 points, 12 carries, 106 yards and a touchdown, 3 targets, 2 catches, 19 yards. And I don't know if I said this, for 20.5 fantasy points, I think I did, but James Cook with 17.8 fantasy points as well, 11 carries, 99 yards and a touchdown, 2 targets, 1 catch, 9 yards. What are we thinking on this Bills backfield, Wes? Fluke or for real on these two guys?
I know you and I are both inclined to lean toward James Cook. I think for a while we've wanted to see a lot of James Cook in this Bills offense, and it has happened, especially from this 17.8 point game, 99 yards and a touchdown. He looked great, but Devin Singletary is still the starter, and the snap count shows it. Singletary almost had a 60% snap count. So I think for that reason, but he hasn't been that great the whole season. But I think Devin Singletary is a starting running back for an NFL team, and I think with the Bills PPR value, I'm willing to say yeah. I don't like saying it, but I think so.
Yeah, I think this is for real for both these guys, to be honest. They're both used in different ways. We saw James Cook against the Dolphins last week, catch a touchdown in the end zone. He was running a route deep in the back of the end zone. Sure, they were running around a little bit, but he was in the back of the end zone. They're used in different ways. Devin Singletary isn't back there, but 12 carries to 11 carries, both getting a score. This first half was weird. They really started to just run the ball a lot against the Bears in the second half. I think it's for real for both these guys. And Devin Singletary is a free agent at the end of the year. We're just talking about 2023. James Cook, they're using him a lot more. They like him. I'm liking James Cook next year as well. A couple of these second-year breakout running backs potentially getting some auditions here at the end of the year that we're looking at for fantasy football. Jacoby Myers, 20.3 fantasy points, 7 targets, 6 catches, 83 yards and a touchdown. Wes, Fluke or for real?
Fluke.
Yeah.
Did you see the touchdown? Did you see that touchdown, Noah?
Yeah.
Fluke.
Yeah.
Okay. No one is going to get that ridiculous catch in the end zone, flip it to the other guys, all the defenders tackle him, and then Jacoby Myers just walks in for. No, that's where all the points came from. Besides, I wanted to confirm this was a fluke. Jacoby Myers hasn't scored double digits since week 8.
Wow. And he was heating up a little bit around then as well. So that's interesting. Yep. That play reminded me of, I don't know if you remember, Wes, David Garrard versus the Saints on Jacksonville.
Oh, that Hail Mary.
Yeah, Hail Mary, where the Saints defender just bats it down and my God. And Gus Johnson goes crazy.
He has that SpongeBob laugh at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. Another Patriots wide receiver, though, Wes, Kendrick Bourne, 24.9 points. Fluke for real on Kendrick Bourne.
If we were in week 5 or 6, I would say, yeah, I think this is interesting, but I'm not. It's too late for me to think that anyone in New England is worth starting, especially with. It should have been in the news segment, but it's just kind of sticky and there's nothing confirmed. It's all rumors, but there's something with Mac Jones going real low for a shot on the knees for a block on a turnover, and there's talks
And
about
potential suspension or fine or something.
so stuff like that, and it's like. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, people really like Bailey Zappi as well, but like, is he? It's too late. It's too late for me to start anyone in New England.
Yeah. Bailey Zappi won 3 games for them, right?
I would need to check.
I think it was 3 games. Maybe he started 3 games. I'm not sure. I don't know. The Patriots have won 7 games this year, and Bailey Zappi's won at least 25% of them. So that's fair to say. Let's see here. Jahan Dotson making some splashes the past few weeks. 19.6 fantasy points. Wes Fluker for real.
Yes. This one I'm ready to say start. This one I think is for real. I think Jahan Dotson, it has been a trend where talented first-round rookie wide receivers, it takes about half the season for them to get it going. And you made the right call after week 2, Noah. Sell high. That kind of touchdown rate that he was having the first 2 weeks was not sustainable, and that benefited everyone if we had listened to you. But this is the late season; they're making a playoff push, and Dotson is playing awesome, making some incredible catches. McLaurin is playing well too, but he has not been a fantasy asset as much. I personally really like Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, me too. I'm a big Jahan Dotson fan, especially, again, I'll just one more time repeat it here as we're looking forward to 2023 as well towards the end of the season. Jahan Dotson, unsure what the quarterback situation looks like in Washington next season, but Jahan Dotson, Wes, I didn't personally see his touchdown. I don't know if you did. Did you catch his touchdown?
Yeah. I mean,
it was through that pass. Can I ask? Was that Carson or was that Heineke?
That was Heineke.
Okay, interesting, because Heineke hasn't gone to Dotson so much recently. So I wanted to check on that there, because obviously Carson Wentz beginning of the year loved Dotson. Would have been quite something to write a note of if Wentz comes back in the game and starts playing again, and then boom, straight to Dotson into the end zone again. So something to monitor there for sure. Next guy here. This is an exciting one for me, Wes. I don't know. You've probably heard me say this before. Ray McLeod. I actually went to high school with Ray McLeod. Don't know if anybody knows that.
I did not know that, this.
Wes. I went to high school with Ray McLeod. I was a freshman when he was a junior. He was the all state running back for our. He was actually played running back and defensive back for the Sickles Griffins over in Tampa, Florida. Ray definitely was a beast in high school. Definitely a guy that I potentially saw doing things like this in the NFL, and got a really good opportunity on a end around play where he just ran a 71-yard touchdown in. He's quick, fast. So good for him. Good to see Ray getting in the end zone there. But 13.1 fantasy points. Fluker for real, Wes.
That's awesome.
Fluke. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah. Hey, good for him, Fluke.
That's cool.
It's a fluke. It's one play came from all of his points. He had one target besides that.
He is talented, though. I mean, he is.
He's bounced around a few times as a punt returner for some teams. He was with Buffalo. He was with Pittsburgh. He played for a few different guys there. But with Debo going out, he's been getting a lot more playing time lately. So it's been cool to see him on the field at least, and definitely was cool to see him get a long touchdown. But that's a fluke.
That's awesome.
Sorry, Ray. Anyways,
if he's listening.
Yeah, Brandon Cooks, 13.4 fantasy points. Fluke for real.
I'm not gonna buy into this guy because he's so cranky at the trade deadline. I have such a bias. Maybe this is for real, and I'm just angry at him. But no, Fluke. Yeah, Chris Moore is my favorite receiver there. I like Amari Rodgers more than Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, there you go. Mercedes Lewis. Gosh, this guy's name hurts. 11.2 fantasy points. Fluker for real.
Mercedes Lewis. I remember when I was drafted in 1845.
The 60-year-old tight end.
No, Fluke. 2 targets, 2 catches. I mean, it just was the play design. We saw it. They had a 4th down play at the goal, 4th and goal. More like 4th and troll.
Nice.
It was just play design. Good play design. That was it.
That was it. Yep.
Nothing
Fluke
else.
there. Gardner Minshew. This one's going to be with a little bit of an asterisk here, Wes, but 22.7 fantasy points, 355 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, a fumble, and then 4 rushes for 5 yards and a rushing touchdown here. 22.7, Fluke or for real. And obviously, this is going to be if he is starting again next week.
Of course. Okay. So I also put this asterisk Fluke because they're playing the Saints next week.
And he won't have to throw as much.
He will not have to. He will not need to keep up with a team that scores 40 points.
Yeah.
He does not. He's not going to need to throw 355 yards and 2 touchdowns, even though he gave away 3 turnovers with 2 interceptions and fumble. He had a rushing touchdown. He did all he could. Cowboys are an unbelievable team. He's not going to need to do this against the Saints. So for me, if he starts, I'm saying Fluke.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, just based off matchup. But
I think he will win.
Yeah, Gardner Minshew is fun to watch play, and he's good. He's still good. He's still got it. 355 yards against the Cowboys is legit. Like that's good stuff. So, good stuff there from Gardner Minshew. But probably a fluke here. 2 Bucks running backs, and then we're going to move on to a Cardinal, and then we're going to close out the good section here. Rachaad White and Leonard Fournette, 15.3 points for Rachaad White, 25.2 points for Leonard Fournette. Playoff Lenny, baby. Maybe we'll see what's going on here. What do we think on these guys, Fluke or for real?
I like it that we've been saying this for a few weeks now, and I'm glad to see it that we were right because never been wrong. Leonard Fournette has been improving last few weeks, and it is the playoff funny time, and the Bucks are in a playoff push somehow. And because of that, Fournette, holy cow, 10 targets for Leonard Fournette. That is amazing. So for real for that, but Rachaad White snuck into the double digits because of receiving touchdown.
Yeah.
And the snap count is lopsided. Leonard Fournette, 60%, Rachaad White, 36%. Leonard Fournette is for real. Rachaad White, unfortunately, I think is fluke.
Yeah, Brady said, "Oh wait, we can actually make a push here. Okay, get Rachaad White out of the game. Let's get Lenny back in here. It helps when you're running back and Leonard Fournette scores 25.2 points, and 18 of those points come from the passing game. That helps.
Yeah, that is wild.
That helps. That's big. 9 catches for 90 yards for Leonard Fournette. Definitely for real there. Get him back into your lineups. And then Greg Dortch. Hey, or as I like to call him, DeAndre Hopkins point stealer. Greg Dortch, 22.3 fantasy points, 11 targets, 10 catches, 98 yards, and 3 rushes for 25 yards. I don't know. Fluke for real?
I still think as disappointing as Hopkins was, Dortch is still behind Hollywood Brown and Hopkins. And I just don't buy into 11 targets again next week.
Same.
No, not for the championship round. Not even consolation. I just fluke all around, I think.
Yeah, all around fluke for sure. Some of these rough guys here and fluke for real to end the segment. Let's jump into them. DeAndre Swift, 3.5 points. Wes.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, sadly for real.
Yeah.
Sadly for real. I don't know what's going on here. His running mate, Jamal Williams, 3.4 points. Fluke for real, Wes.
For real.
Yeah, for real on that guy too. Definitely a little bit of a tough time there. Juju Smith-Schuster, man, remember he was like pretty good at the beginning of the year. 5.7 points on Saturday there. Wes, fluke for real?
I say fluke.
Okay.
I'm willing to give Juju a shot in the flex spot because we know that Mahomes can throw a touchdown to anybody. And Juju is the wide receiver 1. Technically wide receiver 2, receiving option number 2 behind Travis Kelce. But I'm willing to say this is a fluke because I know Juju can put up a solid double-digit game.
Yeah, I'm gonna call this one for real. I'm gonna call it for real because I texted this to you, Wes, on Saturday. If you've been watching football long enough and you've seen the Kansas City Chiefs because they're a good team, you've probably seen them on TV a lot. over the past years that anytime the Chiefs have gotten inside the 10, inside the 5, frequently, I'm willing to say frequently, more, enough to make an impression. Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy will drop a play, call a play that is a shovel pass to Travis Kelce that ends up getting them into the end zone. And Wes, I texted you on Saturday and said, wow, anything to Jerick McKinnon is the new shovel pass to Travis Kelce for them. Because my goodness, Jerick McKinnon he had a low volume day, still at 12.5 fantasy points. Because he did get him in the end zone. They enjoy this guy scoring, and they like when he can go ahead and he does good things when the ball's in his hands. And so they like him there. So it would take a bit of a shift here for me to trust Juju again, especially in the championship, just because he's been such a volume guy. And I feel like when they get inside the red zone, they either go to Kelce or of recently they go to Jerick McKinnon. And so I like Juju Smith-Schuster a lot. I just don't know if he continues getting the volume, just 4 targets. I don't know. This weird game for the Chiefs. It felt like only 24 points scored in a game that felt like they probably should have scored a lot more.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Anyways, Let's move on here. A couple of Vikings, KJ Osborne and Adam Thielen, 4.7 points and 1.6 points. Hey, Fluke for real.
Hey, for real.
There you go.
Thank you for just tempering our expectations and preparing us for this KJ Osborne performance, because you made a very clear point. After the greatest comeback in NFL history, they will not have to come back again.
Yeah, scored 39 points.
39 points in a quarter in 10 minutes. Again. Yeah. So yes, this is for real. This is what's going to happen. And obviously Justin Jefferson for a third straight week, 30 plus points. So
yeah,
it's clear where that passing game goes. Oh, and sometimes TJ Hawkinson.
And maybe for one catch, Adam Thielen, who knows? J.K. Dobbins, 5.9 fantasy points. 12 carries, 59 yards, 0 involvement in the passing game, only 1 target. What do we think, Fluke, for real?
Oh, I want to say this is for real. I'll put it this way. I'm not starting him in the championship game.
I'm not starting him in the championship game either, just based off of I don't know what this offense looks like.
Right.
But I know that J.K. Dobbins has looked good 2 weeks prior to this.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm not calling it for real, but it's I don't know. The Ravens, even with Tyler Huntley, should have just kind of smacked the crap out of the Falcons this week, and I don't know why they didn't. So I don't know, a little weird there.
Lamar Jackson back, maybe J.K. Dobbins stats look different.
Yeah,
better.
Maybe we'll see. Brian Robinson Jr. 5.8 points. Wes, Luke for real.
It's hard to call this for real when he has 22 carries, but at the same time, it's hard to ignore the fact that they didn't involve him in the passing game, and they had a sloppy performance, and they don't even know which quarterback they're going to have next week. So I'm probably not going to start Brian Robinson.
Yeah, same. DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones, 1.2 fantasy points in that terrible weather game. Fluke for real, Wes?
I still like his fantasy value for next week, but I'm still not going to start him. I think I'll have a better week than Amari Cooper, because a lot of people have had better weeks than Amari Cooper last month since Deshaun Watson's been there. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is just like an interesting player to have picked up at some point, but I don't think he's worth starting.
Yeah, I agree. Juwan Johnson didn't score 2 touchdowns this game, which is a bummer. And so as a result, he only had 1.9 fantasy points. Fluke for real, Wes.
And that is why that is for real.
Yeah, that's for real. Tua Tagovailoa at 10.4 fantasy points. Fluke or for real, Wes.
This
might be a redundant question, because this might be for real, because he doesn't play another game this season. I don't know. Like, what do we think if he does play? Fluke for real.
If he does play, I'm going to refer back to my first mark my words, which will not happen. because actually it was my week one stud. I said Tua was going to be my week one stud against New England. I was talking about how Tua could be a top 10 quarterback this season. I was going to give myself a little bit of a pass because he missed 3 games essentially, but not after these performances. He just was not going to make top 10. But my point was not so much that Tua was going to be amazing. It's that I want the quarterback that has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
Sure.
And for that reason, I'm going to say this is fluke. And if Tua does play, I think you can still start him because you have Tyreek freaking Hill and Jalen freaking Waddle as those wide receivers. And it doesn't matter how many yards down the field he throws it. If he throws a 3-yard flat route or a crossing route, you know those 2 guys can take it to the house. If you watched like the first drive,
we saw it, yeah,
on Green Bay, Jalen Waddle, 84 yards. I think, Noah, you shared the stat. This was like the 4th longest passing touchdown in Dolphins history.
Yeah.
Those receivers are too darn good to not play that quarterback. That's how I feel.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, whoever is quarterbacking with those guys, Tua threw an 8-yard crossing route and Jalen Waddle took it, 70 or 68 yards or whatever it is the rest of the way, or 78 yards, whatever it was, whatever the math is on that. So yeah, that helps. That helps. It doesn't help when you throw 3 or 4th quarter interceptions. That doesn't help with fantasy points, but
if it's Teddy Bridgewater, I am certainly open to starting Teddy because it's Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, we were talking about
all
it.
I need.
We were talking about it for the show, Wes. I'm in a league where I have Tua, and the waiver wire is a disaster. And I'm between, I was like, I don't know, Mike White, I guess Mike White against Seattle. And you're like, well, I mean, is Teddy's probably available, right? And I went, oh yeah, I mean, Teddy's throwing to Tua and Tyreek, it's going to be helpful. So that's going to be, whoever's the quarterback there, they're probably going to be successful. Last couple here, DeAndre Hopkins, 1.4 points. God, Fluke for real.
Without Colt McCoy, for real.
Yeah, it's just with McSorley, it feels like
10 targets is great, but
I don't know. They need to be on target, I guess. I don't know what's going on here. Justin Herbert, to close this out, 5.5 fantasy points. My QB2, my preseason QB2, 5.5 fantasy points outside the top 10 quarterbacks. Gosh, Fluke for real, Wes.
The Los Angeles Chargers are 26th in the NFL in scoring touchdowns in the red zone. That is why these Chargers barely beat the Colts. And it takes 3 interceptions to get a field goal on Monday night.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to not start him. It's Justin Herbert. He has that potential, but he hasn't scored a touchdown in like the last 3 games.
Yeah.
And he's thrown like 5 interceptions. And there's a fumble too. And it's just like they just don't score touchdowns. I don't understand why when you have all of that talent.
Yeah.
But for the sake of this segment, for real, but obviously you're going to start him because it's Justin Herbert. But
right.
For the sake, for real.
Yeah, I agree. For the sake of the segment, for real. It's going to do it for our final Fluke or for real of the fantasy football season. And this will be our last Thursday night preview of the fantasy
God,
Wes.
What?
Pretty crazy. Maybe we'll give you guys a cheeky little bonus one in case your league runs to week 18. We'll maybe give you something there next week. But listen, we're gonna make this really easy for our Thursday night preview, Wes. Cowboys take on the Titans in Nashville, Tennessee. Are you ready? Must start the Cowboys. Must start everybody on the Cowboys and Derrick Henry. You got to start Zeke. You got to start Pollard. You got to start CeeDee Lamb. Maybe you got to start after this past week. Maybe you got to start Dak. The Titans' pass defense is terrible. You Yeah, you're starting your Cowboys. You're starting
Colts
your Cowboys
defense.
starters. You're not
Start the Colts defense. Oh my gosh. You're gonna have
the Colts
45
defense.
points. Colts, I'm sorry. Cowboys.
I was like,
Cowboys.
what do they do on Thursday night?
No, I have no idea. No, Cowboys defense. Start the Cowboys
defense. Yeah. Start the Cowboys defense. Points. Start them up. Start Derrick Henry as well, because it's Derrick Henry. You're going to start him, obviously. Risky start there. Somebody just I didn't mention, Dalton Schultz, because sometimes it's great, sometimes it's terrible. Welcome to a fantasy football tight end. You could take a stab at Dalton Schultz. You could take a stab at Tyler Higbee. What do you want to do here? Let us know. Risky start Dalton Schultz just because we got to give you one. But I'm a Dalton Schultz owner and I'm starting him up. So definitely got him in there. Wes, who are we not starting?
Everyone on the Titans that isn't named Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that's easy. It's easy stuff. Without Ryan Tannehill, there's not a pass catcher worth it. It's not a quarterback worth streaming. Not a fullback worth taking a dive in the end zone. Nope, nobody.
Dontrell Hilliard isn't on your radar?
No, sir. It's just Derrick Henry. Yeah, don't start anyone on the Titans besides Derrick Henry. Boom. That is probably the second easiest Thursday Night Football preview. Must start, risky starts, don't start, so that you could ever have in Fourth and Troll fantasy history, in our brief history there. So there you go. That is going to be all the time we have for this episode. Wherever you're listening, we'd appreciate it if you give the episode 5 stars and write something funny in the review so we can give you a shout out next time. We're on social media everywhere at Fourth and Troll, on Facebook at Fourth and Troll Fantasy. Look for our mascot, Teddy the Troll, and make him smile by giving us a follow and joining us next time every Tuesday and Friday. I'm Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
Good luck in your championship matchups this week. And this has been Fourth and Troll Fantasy.